What's up, people? How y'all doing? I told y'all I was coming just because a brother feeling a little ill, got things in his back, and so forth and so on. What's up, Bled? Oh, my goodness. How's everybody doing? Hope you're doing a little bit better than me. That's what's up. Give me some thumbs up. Let me know you're in the house. Let me know you're here, black man. Okay. I see a couple people on YouTube. I see Beanard in the house. Oh man, this has been a crazy week, folks. This has been a crazy week. I don't like to make jokes about current events, but um, this feels really, really, really bad. Hey, Pinky in the house. Senate Sin in the house. Bloods in the house. What's up, miss? How's everybody doing? Um, I thought I guess some of y'all thought I wasn't going to be here. To be honest with you, I didn't think I was going to make it either. It's been a crazy week, folks. This pain is really kicking my behind, but I feel like Michael Jordan playing for Chicago. See if I can score 60, 61 points, 63 points tonight or something. See if I can knock this out the ballpark. I usually make jokes when I'm feeling like this. I guess I could say that the show is being brought to you by Flexeril and what we call non-steroidal anti-inflammatory agents. In short, drugs. The VA, if they don't do nothing else, they give you lots and lots and lots and lots of medicine. So, sound check, sound check. Everybody hear me? Everybody hear me on Facebook? Some thumbs up. Some thumbs up. Everybody hear me on YouTube? Give me some thumbs up. I see y'all saying, hey, let me know. Let me know. Man, I don't know. My lighting has gotten worse. I don't know what I need to do about that. Okay, that's one yes. Okay. I think Bnar sent me a couple thumbs up, so I take it that my Facebook people hear me as well. 7:31, folks. I'm gonna just procrastinate for just a couple minutes. I think some people may have gotten confused, didn't understand what my message says. I said I was gonna be here. Uh, I didn't know how this show was gonna turn out, but the thing is, when you've got a message to deliver, that something that's been given to you, I feel something like what Hermes or Mercury. I'm the messenger. I don't know if the messenger of the gods, but I definitely have something to say with all that's going on. So I try to deliver the message week in, week out as best I can. Straight no chaser. I'm not influenced by any outside party. So I say what I want to say, how I want to say it, when I want to say it, and to those folks that I want to say it to. So with that being said, this evening, folks, I'm gonna go ahead and get started. Somehow people's is late, so I'm gonna go ahead and get started. First of all, I want to tell you guys good evening. Welcome to the show. Thank you for spending your Thursday night with me. As always, I'm truly humbled. Um, Especially this week. I really didn't think I was going to be able to do this. I really didn't. Um, there's this little muscle in your buttocks area. It's called pisiformis. Piriformis. I call it tears to farms because it will bring tears to your eyes. I got body slammed while I was in the Marine Corps, and I've kind of talked about it before. I never talk about the whole story because it's still kind of a trigger point to me. But the older I get, the more this injury rears its ugly head. And with that being said, I was doing something as simple as I had these stuffed bell peppers that I cooked for Easter, and I was going in the refrigerator to grab a couple of them. I was going to warm them up. And just something as simple as reaching to the lower shelf in the fridge caused my back to lock up. And when my back locked up, I screamed like, mm. And I live alone, so I knew if I went down to the floor, I couldn't get back up. So I kind of braced myself up against the counter, and I just couldn't move. I was trying to figure out what was the best position for to move into so that I could come back to a standing position and get out of the fridge. Long story short, after a few minutes, it didn't pass, but I think I got brave enough to try something. I got something out of the fridge. I popped it in the air fryer. I went to my VA medicine cabinet. And as much as I hate to take meds, as much as I hate to take pills, as much as I hate to take drugs, I knew that my back was in spasms. I had to do something. So I think in the weeks to come, I'm going to put a show together. I'll revisit something I did a couple years ago, and I started to talk about drugs and their effect. Without going into an anatomy class, I took something that would block those pain senses, those neuro. So anyway, I just took some. I took some these enteric coated 81 milligram aspirin. They differ from regular aspirin because they're coated with this substance to keep them from breaking down in your stomach. By doing so, they minimize the chance. And I know I'm teaching the class here, I apologize, but I think you might get something out of it. It minimizes the chances of you getting the upset stomach or interacting with those gastric juices in the stomach. I've always been a nerd. I'm always going to be a nerd. So long story short, it keeps the aspirin from breaking down in your stomach, upsetting your stomach. It breaks down in your small intestine where it's less dubious to the body, but it still can be absorbed by the body to do what it's supposed to do. So I did that. And then once, one the baby aspirin or the hard dose aspirins is 81 milligrams. A regular bear aspirin is 325 milligrams, which means 4 times 81 is 324. So if I take 4 of those little baby aspirins, that's equivalent to 1 bear aspirin. So I took 8 of them. So 8 of those little baby aspirin that's enteric coated is equivalent to 2 of the regular bear aspirin, 325 milligrams. So I did that, and then I wound up taking some Flexeril because the aspirin just wasn't working. So I waited 4 hours, and I took the Flexeril. And Flexeril, I don't take drugs, so it doesn't take much to have me zonked out. So the Flexeril, not only did it relax my back, it clogged my mind, and it said, get your ass in bed. So that's what I did. So for the last couple of days, all I've really been doing is almost said eating, sleeping, and shitting, but no, I took a shower too. So I still have the sixth sense of humor, folks. But enough procrastination. Let me just say welcome again to the show. My show is called I Got Something to Say, so it must be true. My name, to those that know me, and most of the people on here already know me, but I still start off the show by telling you my name is Hank Batiste. Government name is Henry, but my name is Hank Batiste. I'm also known as the Renaissance Man, or Rennie for short. I'm your host tonight, and the voices in my head have been blinded by what I call the Flexeril fog. As I get into the show and I start to talk about some of the things that's happening this week, we're finishing up the second week of testimony of who I've dubbed the Minneapolis murderer, Derek Chauvin. Um, Testimony this week has shifted from the eyewitnesses who were so simplistically compelling to police that shattered what I call the blue shield or the blue wall of silence. Meanwhile, Chauvin's lawyer is assassinating the character of George Floyd. You say, okay, well, he was a drug addict and he this, that, and the other. Well, let me just share something with you. I'm from New Orleans. Everybody from New Orleans drinks, with the exception of probably three people. And I promise you, they're not clergymen. It took me a while to realize when you go through things, in short, I guess I was a what you might call like my dad, I was a functional alcoholic because I never missed a day of work. I never was late for work. But coming from New Orleans, drinking the way we do, eating and drinking is what we overdo. Over a period of years. Now, when I was young, I was talking to one of my friends from high school, and he said, "Man, when we were young, you know, we never drank." I said, "No, we ain't have shit to drink about. We these hip, cool brothers, and all we were about was chasing the girls." He says, "Yeah," and he's a retired police officer, and I won't use his name because I'm not shouting him out, but I don't want to put his business out there anyway. But he said, that he has some issues, as most of us do, with alcohol. And then some of my high school friends wind up having a issue with drugs. So it's as common as this. I don't want to make it a racial thing. I don't want to make it a white privilege thing. But when it happens to us, it's a problem. When it happens to other people, then it's an epidemic. So let me just say that, and I'll put that on the shelf for later. I don't think it's cool to assassinate any dead person. You're killing them twice. He's already been murdered by this cop. Now you want to kill him again by making him look bad in the media. Why? Because you call this a defense. Okay, the problem with that, now I'll touch on that later. But every cop that testified, from the chief of police to the street cop and the training officer for the Minneapolis police force, said that Chauvin's use of force was far and beyond what was called for. It was so excessive they all referred to it as deadly force. Now, if we think of what deadly force is, if I'm a boxer, if I study Taekwondo or I study Aikido or Kung Fu, my hands and my feet become lethal weapons. So the same thing happens to a lot of the things that police are taught. They're taught, some of them are taught judo and they're taught how to strike. And the MMA guy was there talking about it because they use some of the same techniques. When you take somebody down, your hands, your elbows, your feet, your knees become deadly weapons. Therefore, you're using deadly force, like it or not. They don't say this to the public simply because then you'll say that's like the cop drawing his gun. You're exactly right. So we're starting to see this blue shield, this wall of silence that's evaporating. Why? Because of Derek Chauvin. I'll touch on that as well a little later. COVID. Yesterday, I don't know how many people died, but it was one of the deadliest days. We were back in the 22, 23, 2,500 range for the day. We had got to a point where we were saying, oh, less than 1,000 people died today. So that just tells you how dead, how desensitized we are getting to this virus. If we say only 1,000 people died and we accept that as a good day, we've gone in the wrong direction. Anybody that dies as a result of this virus is one person too many. So when we start to talk about 23, 2,500 people dying in one day, that's like those towers in New York being struck by an airplane again, and 2,300 lives are gone. Now imagine every day the Twin Towers in New York are struck, and every day 22 to 2,300 to 2,500 people just disappear. Now, what we're starting to see is no longer older people, people our age. It's starting to be more and more of the young people. I heard one doctor use the same language that I've been using since last year. He talked about the mutation of this COVID virus, and he too referred to it as COVID 21. I want to say that I started it first. And maybe I did. Maybe there was someone else that was concurrently thinking the same thing that I'm thinking. But a virus, the thing about a virus is it doesn't stay the same. It's kind of like, and I hate to use this simple analogy, but everybody could understand it. It's like roaches. You use decon for a while, and after a while, decon just don't work no more. You got to use raid. And then the raid doesn't work. So viruses are something in the atmosphere, and as they adjust, they mutate so that they can stay alive because they serve a purpose. Then we see the Atlanta mayor, Keisha Bottoms. Now, Keisha's cool, but she hates people from New Orleans, so I got a little bit of a thing with her. Since Katrina, Atlanta has become New Orleans West. Houston has become New Orleans East. So, Ms. Bottoms having a problem with the New Orleanians coming to Atlanta and making their presence known. She talks about us, especially when it looked like the Saints were going to the Super Bowl before they were cheated by the officials. The Los Angeles Rams didn't cheat them, the officials did. Let me make that perfectly clear. But one thing I will give Ms. Bottoms credit for is she fights for her city. She fights for Atlanta. Now, she wasn't too keen on Major League Baseball moving the All-Star game because she looked at the money that would be coming from that game. So what she did to kind of counteract this is just like the president, every mayor, every governor, every president is an executive. He's the chief executive, either of the state or municipality. The governor is the chief executive of the state, and the president is the chief executive of the nation. So just like Joe Biden writes executive order, Mayor Keisha Bottoms, Lance Bottoms, wrote an administrative order to counteract some of these James Crow III voting suppression laws that have been passed by her governor. And I'm not going to say his name. I know his name, but I refuse to give him oxygen on my show. This is one of the things that I want my organization to do, is to teach people politically how to adapt, improvise, and overcome James Crow III. So maybe some of the other mayors, because mayors do meet and they talk on a regular, maybe they will start talking about how they can do some things nationwide. And by doing so, you'll get some of the local people invested so that they stay engaged and energized. Let me just remind you again that there's over 250 pieces of voter restriction legislative pieces in over 43 states. Folks, we only got 50 states plus our territories like, the U.S. Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico. So over 43 states are looking at adopting some type of legislation that makes it harder for people of color and people that have classically been disenfranchised to vote. So you and me, we have to do something. And this Joe Manchin, I'm going to talk about him later as well. Meanwhile, the Trump OP, the QOP, the GOP, the ROP, whatever they're calling themselves, have come up with this campaign they're calling cancel culture. Like somehow the voice of America, the majority of America has to be silenced because it takes them out of power. So their rallying cry for the upcoming 2022 elections, and bear with me, folks, this flex reel is playing with my head. Their upcoming rallying cry is cancel culture. Folks, we are culture. We, the majority of America, decides the culture for ourselves. It's not up for the few elected officials to start poisoning the minds of those Republicans who are going along with Biden because they understand the need for the infrastructure. When you go to places like New Orleans and you see in these well-to-do neighborhoods how raggedy the streets are, or when you go through the Ninth Ward and you can't drive down Louisa Avenue no more because the street is so deplorable, it will tear up the undercarriage of your car. Not just your transmission. He'll snatch your transmission and motor if you let it. So it's ridiculous. You've got to maneuver a major thoroughfare like it's some backwoods street, a road. The infrastructure needs to be attended to, and Biden wants to do it. And the only way they can come up with something is by poisoning the mind. And I know I got long-winded on my introduction, but I'm going to move on, folks. Tonight's show is simply called Contradictions of the Dawn, of the New Dawn in America. We are not Myanmar. I got something to say. Let's omit the logic and do this. Let me start off with George Floyd and this so-called trial. Let me just say this. Though I applaud the 9+ cops, plus the chief of police of the Minneapolis Police Department, who decided to step up and testified against Derek Chauvin, I'm pissed that Derek Chauvin was allowed to commit these heinous acts for the last 18 years. In 18 years, this man has over 19 things that's been written against him. So somebody has allowed him to get up this head of steam. He didn't just start off by killing George Floyd. There are a lot of things that happened before this. And here's something that I want to see happen. And this is something that we need to write our legislators about. If a deceased person that has been killed, murdered, assassinated by any police, if his or her prior transgressions are brought into the court of law, then the transgressions of that police officer should also be made admissible, and they should be brought into the courtroom as well. It's not fair to judge one person on their missteps and not judge the other person. So if you're going to talk about Colvin, you should talk about, if you're going to talk about Floyd, you should be talking about murderous Derek Chauvin. Meanwhile, this Fingali defense attorney, he's the same one who got off the last police officer who murdered this black guy. I can't think of his name. Philando I can't remember, but he told a cop that he was licensed to carry. And the cop shot him 4 or 5 times sitting in the passenger seat. He wasn't even a driver. Seated in the passenger seat, he was shot while he filmed the whole thing. The fiance filmed the whole thing. This is the same Svengali who's trying to use this rabbit out of the hat that Chauvin died of an overdose. Correct me if I'm wrong, people, but wasn't Rush Limbaugh addicted to opioids as well? Was that all that Rush Limbaugh was addicted to? Do we know? Will we ever know? Was his character assassinated after he died? How many people are are addicted to opioids? How many people are taking let me not go down there. Why is George Floyd's character being demonized when Rush Limbaugh is allowed to rest in peace? This man, Rush Limbaugh, was one of the most hateful, spewing people on the radio. And as a result, Despicable Donnie, Delusional Donnie, your former president, number 45, decided to give him a presidential matter of what? Freedom? Whose freedom? This is the epitome of what we call white privilege. And I'm going to talk about that later. So say it with me, folks. Fuck out of here with that. Let me say this one more time. The jury consists of 3 black men, 1 black woman, 2 biracial people or women that consider themselves as multiracial, 2 white women, and 2 white men and 4 white women. Then there are 2 white women who are alternates. I got a problem with that, but the defense's job is they only have to convert or convince one of those people, black, white, biracial, and this fool will walk. Despite all of his police comrades who allowed him to peacefully coexist for 19 years, 18 years, committing 19 of these heinous acts. Meanwhile, here in Titusville, Florida, a high school. I can't make this shit up. I posted the story on my Facebook, so you wouldn't say that I called them a liar. A high school. Now we know high schools is number 1 on the hit list of these little wannabe famous, infamous boys. A high school. I say this time and time again. I want you to understand a high school here in Titusville, Florida is raffling off an assault weapon. I think we raffled off a TV. They're raffling off an assault weapon, and I promise you the tickets are sold out. Can't make this shit up. Meanwhile, today in Bryan, Texas, there's 6 people just north of Houston. 6 people were shot. We don't know how many shot and killed. The killers on the loose. Joe Biden is doing another executive order trying to get this whole thing with, gun control under, and Joe Manchin is making a name for himself. But going against the Democratic agenda of gun control, infrastructure improvement, eliminating the filibuster, and somehow curbing his gun violence. Moving on. This next part I call We Are Not Myanmar. I call it that because I don't know if you realize it, but speaking of a coup d'etat, Myanmar is a little town in Southeastern Asia, just north of Vietnam and Thailand. A military coup was pulled off. Now, they had a democratic regime for, I think, 4 or 5 years. And then there was an election. Tell me if this shit don't sound familiar. There was an election and somebody won that the military didn't like. So the military seized control. Sounds something like January the 6th, doesn't it? Uh-huh. We are not Myanmar. Why is Myanmar important? Why is a country in Southeast Asia that used to be called Burma important? What does it have to do with us? It's important because we still have not and probably will never punish those who are directly responsible for the failed coup d'etat attempt on January the 6th of this year, right here in our nation's capital, when we're supposed to be the seat of democracy. Myanmar is important because they have been over 700 people that's been murdered, but it's occupying force called the military, and some of them children. Myanmar, Burma, is important because they stole a page from the Republicans' playbook, or Trump's playbook. There's a video showing a military convoy and a 15-year-old boy on a moped. As he starts to pass them, he's shot. But his autopsy said he died as a result of head trauma sustained from wrecking his moped. They're important because when Myanmar's military, whatever he called himself, spokesperson, decided that he would talk to CNN, they stole another page from the Republican playbook. They said that it's not the military that killed these 700 people, that it's protesters, that it's anarchists, that it's everybody but them. Just like Cruz, just like Ron Johnson, just like all of these other Trumpites say, it's not the Trumpies that was committing the violence on January the 6th. Anytime Ron Johnson has the audacity to say that he didn't feel bad because they looked like him, he would have been more frightened had it been people of color, had it been Black Lives Matter. And he suffered no fate, nothing negative. Finally, it's important because America always wants to condemn what's going on in other countries. And right now, we got this tree in our eye, and we're talking about what's happening in a speck in another country's eye. Let's deal with the shit that's homegrown. Let's make sure that this works for all of us. We've got enough demagogues in there wanting and saying whatever they can for power. Nothing but power. Speaking of demagogues, let me talk about Joe Manchin of West Virginia. Joe Manchin loves the spotlight. He's used being the 50th vote to pass any Democratic legislation, any of Joe Biden's agenda, to make a name for himself. He's loving the hell out the spotlight. Today he says, I am not killing the filibuster. He's the demigod in every sense of the word. He enjoys the spotlight so much. He's talking about this is how we do the job. There's no way in hell if they wouldn't do it, if Republicans wouldn't come on this side of the fence for Biden, there's no way in hell they're going to come on this side of the fence for Joe Manchin. Prior to Biden getting elected, nobody had ever heard of Joe Biden from the itty bitty state of West Virginia. Suddenly he has the spotlight. So, is he enjoying it? Yeah. Let me tell you something. I'm sending this out here just in case this gets to Joe Manchin. Let me tell you something. You are not ever going to be president. If it were up to me, I would talk to everybody from West Virginia because the people in the state of West Virginia need jobs. The people in the state of West Virginia needed that the those money from infrastructure and the COVID bill and all of this other stuff. So he's trying to do the same thing that the Republicans are doing by diverting and deflecting. If you should ever choose to run, I will find my way personally to West Virginia and campaign for whoever opposes you. Say it with me, people. Fuck out of here, Joe Manchin. It's your bullshit. Last thing, folks, and I have to talk about this. I have to talk about this because we use the term white privilege over and over and over and over again. So this last thing, and I'm gonna get you out of here. What is white privilege? And why is white privilege a problem? When we say white privilege, I know that I have friends, both black and whites, that say, yo, hey, man, you don't think that shit racist to talk about a whole race of people and lump them all into this derogatory term, white privilege? To those, I say this. I have a problem with any and everybody, any person that, regardless of race, regardless of their gender, regardless of their sexual orientation, that uses said race, gender, or sexual orientation to manipulate the situation or people for their own personal gain. I say to them that I have a problem with whoever exploits others to promote themselves. I say if you get ahead based on your merits and your hard work, I'll applaud you. I'll give you a pat on the back. I'll say, atta boy, atta girl, way to go. If you exploit the system, if you play victim to get ahead, I will expose you. When you play the system, you're a charlatan. You lack character, period. I will call you for what you are, a charlatan, a Karen, a demigod, a power-hungry wannabe. I said what I said. I said what I said, period. End of story. I would say it one more time, but I think I only get two. But let's go for three. Fuck out of here. Ooh, that one felt good. When I speak of white privilege, let me just make this explicitly clear. And I'm going to use Larry Bird as an example versus Tom Brady. When I talk about white privilege, I believe Bird worked his ass off to be the best. When Boston won, when Boston beat the Lakers, and I was a staunch Lakers fan even before they got Magic. But when they got Magic, that sealed the deal. When they got a man called Will Chamberlain, when they got a man called Lou Alcindor, who changed his name to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, when they had a man named Woolrich who was doing these nasty dunks, before there was a Magic, I was still a Lakers fan. So when they picked up Magic and they started this whole Showtime, this running and gunning and all of this energy, I hated the hell out of Bird. I hated him. I didn't hate him because he was white. I hated him because he was good. I hated him because he worked his ass off like he came from New York, like he came from playing in the Rucker. You understand? So he earned what he got. So as much as I outwardly hate him when he beat my Lakers, I celebrated his skill set. I celebrated because he earned what he got. There was no white privilege, people. That's hard work. That's somebody putting in hours to do what they do. Now, on the other hand, when I start to talk about a Tom Brady, how many times did Tom Brady get a call? How many times did the officials extend the game? How many times did Tom Brady get caught with an underinflated football and penalized? But he wasn't penalized until the next season. So he was given an opportunity to go to the Super Bowl. That's not a penalty. That shit comes with an asterisk. And last year, no, 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 no. That's bullshit. So I don't want to go off on sports. Let me get back. White privilege is when it's having the audacity to say, I wasn't afraid on January 6th because they look like me. White privilege is having the gall to say, I could kill a man in Times Square and not be arrested and still be elected. White privilege is cheating the government out of taxes for 18 years and bragging about it. White privilege is drawing weapons on protesters, killing numerous people, then being taken to Burger King before you're taken into custody. I'm not going to even give them a fuck out of here. White privilege is being handed a mental health defense over and over again when you're no more than an evil wannabe famous murderer, mass murderer, homegrown domestic terrorist. White privilege is putting a black man or black woman on trial after they have been killed, murdered, assassinated, or permanently maimed by the police. We all, as Americans, have a God-given, inalienable right to life, liberty, and it originally said the pursuit of property, because property is wealth, and wealth is happiness. So we have a God-given, inalienable right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of what makes us happy. We are not Myanmar. In my humble opinion, the healing will start when we start calling January the 6th what it was. It was a failed coup attempt. The healing will start when we hold those people who are truly responsible accountable for their actions. This is the dawn of a new decade in this millennium. This is the beginning. 2021. Here's our chance to get it right, folks. We are not Myanmar. We are America. Ain't no canceling culture. I am America. If he's Tiger Woods, I'm America. That's all I got for you tonight, folks. Y'all gonna say, damn, he did pretty good with that flexor. He should do that shit more often. Nah, Thank you, folks. Thank you for tuning in. That's all I got for you. Remember, don't be so afraid to die that you forget to live for a purpose. Shout out to the people in Myanmar. They were holding up 3 fingers. I'm like, are they Boy Scouts? What kind of shit is that? And then I found out this was taken from the Hunger Games. This is their way of showing solidarity against the military coup that has occupied their country. I'm finalizing the t-shirts. I got on one of my sweatshirts tonight. I will stand up, but this shit hurts, man. So I'm gonna just hold my shirt up a little bit so y'all can see it. This is the organization, and I came up with the saying, omit the logic, because the shit never makes sense, but we got to get it done. I'm finalizing the deal on my sweatshirt, so I'll have them. I'm dealing with some back pain, but I promise you I'll have them on my website this week. I'll have the website completed, and you guys can order some t-shirts. I think it's not only does it show solidarity amongst us, but it gives me a chance to go. And I'm going to tell you a little bit next week about what my vision is and how I'm going to help in some of this voter registration and counteracting some of this shit. So do me a favor, people. Go to my website, go to my YouTube, subscribe, give me some thumbs up. Let me know that you dig what a brother got to say. Click on the bell. If you have already just subscribe, share my podcast with a friend, family member, a group. You know, you can share with your with your church. I'm sure brother preacher probably cursed a little bit being after he didn't have one communion too many. But seriously, share with everybody that you care about. Let them subscribe and give me a thumbs up. Always important. My name is Hank Batiste, alias the Renaissance Man, also known as Rennie. I'm your host. I got something to say. It must be true, folks. See you next week. Same Batiste time, same Batiste place. It's always important. Love, peace, and like your man, hair grease. I'm out of here. Have a good evening, folks. Be safe out there. Wear your mask. We almost got this shit licked. Good night. All right, YouTube. Appreciate it. Invite a friend. Brother needs it.